Well, hello there. My name is Ian, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So this morning I received news from Rhino Records and YES that the next album to be released in the Super Deluxe Edition series will be YES's 1973 classic Tales from Topographic Oceans. Now, Tales from Topographic Oceans has been a divisive album pretty much since it was released, maybe even before that, because if you know anything about the history of the album, of course, keyboardist Rick Wakeman absolutely hated it. And he was fond of eating curry on stage during the parts of the album where he didn't play, which was pretty large stretches of it. Despite the fact that it is divisive, it is a very controversial album. It's kind of grown over the years and it tends to endure. Even the main composers of the work, which would be John Anderson, the singer and lyricist and occasional acoustic guitarist for Yes, as well as Steve Howe, the guitarist for Yes, are still very proud of this record. And I think they have plenty of reason to be. Yes, it does have some fluff. It's got some parts that go on a little bit longer than they should. But it does represent a time in music history, I think, where ambition was rewarded, encouraged even. This is around the same time period as albums like A Passion Play by Jethro Tull. Or even a year later, we get The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, another divisive double concept album from Genesis, which is another one of my favorites. It's hard for me to say where Topographic Oceans falls in my own Yes experience, my own feelings towards the band's catalog. I have to admit that I'm kind of new to Yes. Like I did listen to them 10 or so years ago when I first got into progressive rock. But it's only been within the past couple of years with the reissues of these albums and the new Dolby Atmos mixes from Steven Wilson that I've really grown to appreciate them. And a big part of that is the fact that the 5.1 mixes, which came out years ago, are extremely hard to get a hold of. So I think that unlike a lot of other reissues that you see of kind of classic albums coming back that have been in 5.1 and now they're being reissued in Dolby Atmos, I find that the Yes series is much more essential simply because these mixes are no longer in print. And in many cases, you're paying as much for a secondhand copy as you would for these new big box sets, multi-format boxes. And we're going to talk a little bit about the previous box sets. I pulled those out to discuss them a little bit. Again, they're controversial. And the reason for that is that these box sets, and here, I'll just pick up my copies. These box sets, as I said, are multi-format. So we're talking about vinyl, CDs, Blu-ray, and a lot of people were like, you know what? I'd love to have the vinyl, but I don't need everything else. Or I'd love to have the CDs, but I don't need the Blu-ray and the vinyl. I'd love to have the Blu-ray, but I don't want whatever. Everybody always has something to complain about. They scream cash grab, especially at me in the comment sections. And they act as though they're somehow being forced to buy them. And I'm actually a great defender of these kinds of releases, simply because as an audio engineer, somebody who's into mixing and mastering, and that's what I do as a job, I find these multi-format box sets are fantastic for study. Like if you want to study the differences and kind of learn the craft, I think that they can be really great. And also, and I know this wasn't very popular with some of you before when I talked about this album, Close to the Edge. I actually thought that Bernie Grundman's master of this album on the LP included, even though I'm not a big vinyl person, I don't collect LPs, I thought it was maybe the second best sounding thing in the set after Steven Wilson's new Dolby Atmos mix. So I was really impressed by the vinyl mastering. And as somebody pointed out in my comments section on my posts tab today, there has not been an audiophile edition of Tales of Topographic Oceans prior to this. The closest we've come to that is this edition, which came out in, I believe, 2014, so over 10 years old now. And this included new mixes from Steven Wilson. Now, we are going to talk about what was included in this set versus what's included in the new set, because it's not clear to me if everything has been ported over or not. I definitely know we get 2 LP transfers, both of a US copy and a UK copy, and we don't get that on the new Blu-ray. So if that's something that's important to you and you already have this, you might want to hold on to it. But yeah, we're going to get into that in just a second. We'll talk about the differences, but first, let's talk about the new versions. So, as you can see here on Rhino's website, there are 2 variants available. One is here, and we'll call this the Lithographic Oceans edition. Tales from Lithographic Oceans. So, what this includes for a little extra money is the 12 CDs and 2 LPs / the Blu-ray, but you also get this lithograph included of the album cover, and it is signed by Roger Dean. Now, when I met Roger, I kind of babbled and talked about all my favorite album covers. When I mentioned Tales from Topographic Oceans, he stopped me and said, "Wait a minute, who tortured you and made you listen to Yes?" So looking at this and seeing that he's signed a new copy of it just makes me kind of laugh, because, when I met Roger, I was 19 years old, foaming at the mouth fanboy. And he managed to disarm me with a comment like that. So it's cool to see him still involved and doing these kinds of things for Rhino Records and Yes. So, okay, this is the version to get if you are the super duper mega fan. I actually already have Roger Dean's signature. He signed my Nearfest program as well as my copy of Octopus by Gentle Giant. But here's the edition that I'm going to be getting. And this is the 12 CDs, the 2 LPs of the album, and the Blu-ray set. Now, that is, again, 13 discs and 2 LPs, and the cost is $125. That comes out to about $10 a disc. Now, I don't know about you, but based on the pricing of the previous sets, I expected this to be twice as much. I expected it to run $200 to $300. So I applaud them for keeping the cost down. It is a little bit more if you order from Yes Direct, for what it's worth. So I don't know if Rhino is competing with Yes Direct or what's going on here. But I think all things considered, this is not a terrible price for what you get. So let's talk about what you get. And I know that some of you don't like it when I read the copy, but it helps to add context, make sure I don't miss anything. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it, and then I'll add my comments in just a second. So, Tales from Topographic Oceans, Super Deluxe Edition, spans 12 CDs, 2 LPs, and a Blu-ray, and features a newly remastered version of the original double album on both CD and vinyl. Rarities, previously unreleased studio and live recordings, and several new mixes by Steven Wilson, including a Dolby Atmos version. Now, if it's anything like the old editions, I know for a fact that Fragile and Close to the Edge were both, the original stereo mixes were mastered by Bernie Grundman, and he's one of the best names in the business, in my opinion. And he's been around for years. And, you really can't go wrong. When I see Bernie Grundman's name is attached to a project, I know it's going to sound good. So I'm hoping that this is Grundman again, because as somebody pointed out, there's not been really an audiophile edition of this album before. And if he's involved, I think that's going to make the original mixes really shine. Okay, let's read some more. The origins behind Tales from Topographic Oceans trace back to a footnote and Paramahansa Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi, which inspired John Anderson to imagine a 4-part musical journey through ancient Hindu scriptures. That concept took shape across 4 sidelong compositions: The Revealing Science of God, Dance of Dawn, The Remembering, Hide the Memory, The Ancient Giants Under the Sun, and Ritual. To capture the album's structural and spiritual ambition, Anderson, vocals, Steve Howe, guitar, Chris Squire, bass, Rick Wakeman, keyboards, and Alan White, drums, worked with longtime producer Eddie Oford at London's Morgan Studios using Britain's first 24-track console. So, that's a big deal right there. We're talking about a 24-track recording being converted to Atmos. So the possibilities here, I think, are going to be incredible. Originally released on December 7th, 1973, Tales from Topographic Oceans topped the UK album chart and reached number 6 in the US, where it earned a gold certification. The new Super Deluxe Edition reveals deeper dimensions of the project, with previously unreleased in-progress versions of all 4 album tracks, providing rare insight into the creation of Yes's most audacious work. The set's live material was recorded early in the tour of Tales and includes previously unreleased performances of all 4 album tracks, along with earlier favorites, and You and I and Close to the Edge. The shows include Zurich, April 21st, 1974, Manchester, November 28th, 1973, and Cardiff, December 1st, 1973. Okay, let's take a look at the track listing. Of course, discs 1 and 2 are the original album remastered. Again, probably Bernie Grundman's work. Disc 3 and 4 are the Steven Wilson 2026 remixes. What's not clear here is if the extended version of the Revealing Science of God will be included, perhaps as an extra, or if it has been instated in the main album program. Personally, I would not mind if it were instated in the main album program, because the first version that I heard of this album was on CD, and it did have that included. So whenever I play the 5.1 mixes on the Blu-ray, I always start with the extended version of the first track, and then I loop back and hear the rest. So I'm kind of hoping that that we do have the extended intro included, because why not? It's part of the album, and it kind of sets the mood and atmosphere really nicely for what you're about to hear. Okay, so on to disc 5, we get instrumental mixes, which is cool. I'm sure that a lot of people are going to enjoy hearing those. Now on to the rarities. So we get single edits of the Revealing Science of God, the Remembering, the Ancient, 2 singles from Ritual. And here we have the Revealing Science of God version 1, the Remembering, Hide the Memory in progress, the Ancient in progress, the Revealing Science of God in progress, the Ancient, as well as the Revealing Science of God again in progress too. Disc 9, we continue with another in progress version, this time the Memory, an in progress version of Ritual, and finally the Revealing Science of God version 2. Now, in the original version of this, we do get a couple of studio run-throughs of every song on the album, with the exception of Ritual, if I'm understanding this correctly. And what's not clear in this new press release is if these studio run-throughs are the same versions that are included on the Rarities discs, or if this is something new and separate. So that's something to look out for when this is released. I mean, I'm sure that the Yes scholars among us are going to know, but they are advertising this as being unreleased material, and I'm not sure if they've just changed the naming scheme here or what's going on. So I'm very curious to see what's going on with these in progress versions. So on to discs 10 through 12. So disc 10 is live 1973 at the Free Trade Hall, Manchester, England. And this is the Remembering and the Ancient. And then we also get on the same disc live at Capitol Theatre, Cardiff, Wales. And that's the Ancient again and Ritual. Finally, discs 11 and 12 are the complete live in Zurich, Switzerland show, which we did get a live in Zurich version of Ritual on the old set. So it would be worthwhile to go back and listen to that, I think, and see what the recording quality is, because it's not clear at all what the source is on these recordings. It's not clear if they're soundboards, audience recordings, something that the band did, or whatever. So I'd be really curious what the quality is going to be. The quality of the live material on this set, Close to the Edge, was fantastic, but it did have some technical problems. So I hope that the quality control is better on this release than it has been on previous ones. Like Fragile's got a song that isn't even Yes in the extras. So that's like a really glaring issue. So I'm hoping that's taken care of for this, because this is a really special album and it seems like it's going to be a special package too. Okay. So now on to the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray includes the 2026 mixes, Dolby Atmos, 5.1, stereo, as well as the stereo remaster and the instrumental mix. There's no multi-channel option or surround option for the instrumental mixes. This is stereo only. And there's no indication at all, again, if the extended version of the Revealing Science of God is included or not. So again, that's something to look for once this is released. I really hope it is, because I actually, as I said before, I prefer the extended intro. Then, of course, we have the 2 LPs, which is the original album remastered. Again, this is a sticking point for a lot of people when it comes to these sets. But as I said previously, I actually thought that the vinyl quality on the sets, I thought the mastering sounded terrific. So like them or not, they are really good and they're well done. So I can't fault them too much. And in the case of this set, I don't really feel like they affected the price that much. I feel like they managed to keep the price down to a semi-reasonable level. Like I thought with a double album, again, it would be twice as much as the previous sets. But as far as I can tell, this is kind of the same pricing scheme as the previous one. So well done on that, I would say. All right. So obviously, I'm super excited for this release. I don't know, again, if I would call Tales from Topographic Oceans a favorite album of mine, but it is one that I enjoy because I can put it on and reality slips away. And I just kind of fall into the world of this album and I can get really lost in it. And I value those experiences quite a bit, especially given that it's a longer album. I almost feel like, as I've said before, this is Yes's attempt at an ambient album. That's not to say that there aren't some kind of rock out moments, but the general feeling on this album to me is very, very soothing and kind of like drifting into a dream. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to add it to my existing collection of Yes Super Deluxe editions, because I've enjoyed all of these, and I think that the new mixes especially have been absolutely superb from Steven Wilson. So I guess all that leaves is for you, the viewer, to tell me what you think. So are you going to be picking this up? Would you like to see me review it? The only way to keep tabs on my reviews and my upcoming content is by subscribing to the channel. And what subscribing does is it will make sure that when I do eventually review this release, it's going to show up in your recommended videos. Also, feel free to like this video if you enjoyed it. And again, leave me a comment and let me know your impressions of this release, if you intend to get it, and if you are excited for the new mixes and the live material. But until then, I'm off to go review that guy. I'm hoping to talk about that Frank Zappa Halloween 78 box set within the next couple days. So until then, take care, and you'll be hearing from me really, really soon. So long.